Welcome. We are going to talk about a very significant change, and that is Saturn going into the sign of Pisces. That occurs March 7th of 2023. This will be a video that you can return to many times and review, because this transit is going to last for a good 3 years, approximately till 2026. So in this video, I want to break down what Saturn in Pisces means and what we can expect for those coming couple of years. So what about Saturn? Well, Saturn is a very important planet, and we all kind of know it because of its very familiar and famous shape. It's that planet that is always depicted with a big ring around it. And actually many planets have rings around them, but Saturn is very famous for it. So in the ancient times, this is where astrology ended. So Saturn was the last planet that was known. And therefore, it was considered with endings, karma, and death. And Saturn was usually linked with slightly negative occurrences, which is why in astrology, Saturn can be viewed as maleficent, meaning that it can invoke negative situations and energies. However, that is not my opinion on Saturn. Just like any planet and just like any energy, it can go either way. And it's more in a line of a spectrum, right? So which expression a planet or an energy takes is actually up to you. And you're more in charge of what way of that spectrum and energy goes. So if you want the Saturn expression to be positive, that is because you will take positive choices, because you will do the right thing, so to speak. And then the Saturn expression can be really positive as well, because Saturn can really bring in the gifts. You know, it's not much talked of in astrology, but it actually is about mastering this material world. So when you hear all these people about manifestation and being the creator of your life, it's kind of the Saturnian energy that they mean. Because Saturn helps us in doing that, in materializing things, in making it a tangible, touchable reality. So in this 3D world that we currently live in, Saturn is very important to use, to understand, and also to evolve its energy as everything evolves. So what is Saturn about then in modern astrology? Well, for us, it is a gateway planet. So you have personal planets, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and then you have gateway planets. That is Jupiter and Saturn. And they're in between these personal energies and the far out energies, which are the outer planets, and that is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Saturn is right in the middle of those two. And it's sort of guarding the gates, right? So it truly is about mastership in your own life. Mastering the energies that are within you, really tapping into your authentic energy. That is actually what Saturn is about. And it is a gateway planet, a gateway keeper, because from Saturn on, things get really complicated, right? Because now you enter the realm of higher consciousness, And you really need a solid foundation to enter into these hard to understand, not easy to the eye to see, kind of vibrations. And you could easily get lost in those outer planet energies. So Saturn wants you to be really stable, to be devoted to a strong foundation within, and of course, strong, tangible, materialistic foundations around you as well. So Saturn wants you to do that. And when you do what Saturn wants, the gates open and your soul can move beyond this material reality. And once you have mastered this material reality, now your soul can explore much more, and actually true creation, true creativity, which moves, of course, beyond this physical, materialistic reality. So it has actually a big, big energy. So you can see Saturn as a teacher, this taskmaster that wants you to do what is needed, which is not always fun, but it is really important. And that is why Saturn is associated with seriousness, responsibility, accountability, discipline, focus, devotion, effort. It wants you to work for it. It wants to see that you do all that you can and take it really serious. A very Saturnian word. Saturn also rules time, and that is very significant to understand. Because it rules time, this is about long-term goals and long-term projects and a bigger view, right? This is about self-mastery as well. So, as I said, it is truly about finding your authentic essential voice, you know? That is why Saturn is also related to inner authority, to self-respect and integrity. It's sort of humbleness as well to it, you know? Because that is what mastery brings as well. When you know how it all works, and when you've done what Saturn wants you to do, then you are very mature. And that is what Saturn ultimately wants as well. So coming into the essence of who you are and also being very mature about it with a seriousness that is required, right? And as I said, devotion and focus is really important for Saturn too. So it's something you need to bite your teeth into, right? To really stick to something, to commit, to accomplish, because Saturn is very driven to succeed. So wherever Saturn is in your chart, this is where you are driven to succeed. And this change of Saturn going into Pisces tells us where we collectively want to succeed in. Saturn seeks solidity, so it will give you many lessons and it will test your foundations, inner and outer, and it wants to make sure that you're very stable. It is a stabilizing planet. It's that reality check energy. And when your foundations aren't strong, or when your authority over yourself isn't present, then you can meet with Saturn's opposition. And it is powerful in that way. So when you do not comply to the demands of Saturn, to its lessons, if you are continuously not learning, then it can come up with the negative results. And that is restrictions, limitations, boundaries, blocks, obstacles, hurdles, stagnant energies, delays. It can make it hard, it can cause pressure, it can cause heaviness, and all over difficulties. It would want you to restructure, to reorganize, to re-strategize. Saturn is related to karma, so it kind of keeps a record of all that you do, and Saturn will give you the consequences of your actions. And that is why, it really is important what you put out into the universe, because that is what you get back. So there is that karmic boomerang effect to the Saturnian energy as well. But then Saturn also represents a fatherly energy, fathers, elderly, big systems, governments, corporations, and all in authority. So that is something that Saturn also represents, as well as your own authority over your own life. So it tests your foundations, and it's like, do your lessons so that you can master whatever you need to master in this lifetime. But now Saturn moves into a different sign. It changes signs, and it goes into Pisces. And Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac, which is the last one, right? That is very significant to understand for the Piscean energy, because the last sign means that something is completing here. Something is coming to an end. And Pisces energy is, for some people, hard to understand because it moves beyond this world. It's the ultimate higher perspective. It is the divine consciousness. Pisces energy is about transcendence, moving beyond. And as I said, Saturn is that gateway planet. So from here on, the gates can open, right? But of course, not without some struggles that Saturn can easily bring us to make us understand what is important, to make us be aware of the kind of reality we want to live in versus the kind of reality that is imposed upon us. Because Saturn can represent the imposing energy as well, right? Because it represents authority. So that top-down energy is also present in Saturn. But the top-down energy has no meaning, no power, if you're able to go from the bottom up, and that is authority within. So you have authority and mastership over your life, and ultimately that influence the collective, right? So as I said, it's a spectrum of expression. So either you have Saturn top down, or you have Saturn inner authority, self-respect, and moving up the other way. So, right? When there is a lack of inner authority, then it's very likely that it's a top-down kind of Saturn expression. But as I said, it's up to you how you wish to experience it, and also how you influence the collective consciousness. Because guess what? That is what Pisces represents as well. It's the collective subconsciousness. So Pisces is about the connectedness of everything, how we are all connected to each other, and how everything is interconnected. So truly, this is where Saturn can be massively upgraded. And mind you, this is a 28-year cycle. So it's been 28 years that Saturn was here. That's a big cycle. So now we experience something coming to an end and a challenge to move in higher consciousness, more divinity in our lives, and touching into our soul essence, and somehow bringing that into this worldly realm, somehow bringing divine mastery and like the great things that Pisces represents into this world, which is kindness, compassion, empathy, unconditional love, things we all crave because that is the core of our soul. But when you come to this world, sometimes you can forget. And sometimes people get entangled into this false reality where people are busy with money and accumulating possessions and stuff that Saturn can represent as well. Again, the spectrum. It's the lower expression of Saturn. And it's not even Saturn because you're kind of lost. You haven't understood any of your lessons because yeah, those things are important. The reality of it all is important. The reality check of Saturn is important, but it's not so literal that it's only material, because as I said, it is ultimately about tapping into your own authority, into your own authentic, essential self. What does that mean? Well, here's an example of how Saturn works. For instance, in your first Saturn return, which happens between the year of, at the age of 27 and 30, somewhere in between those years. And what happens with the Saturn return is it peels these layers of the onion, and it wants you to discard all that isn't you, all that was put upon you by society, culture, family, media, whatever. And it's has nothing to do with your true essence, has nothing to do with your purpose here in life. And so the first Saturn return is a reality check, but not in the way like, oh, you haven't done anything with your life. No, it's more like you haven't done perhaps enough of what you're here to do. So there is this slightly nuance with Saturn that is missed sometimes, and that is, yeah, it's about accomplishment, but it's not everybody needs to be a CEO. Not that kind of an accomplishment. Not having millions on your bank kind of accomplishment. No, it's about committing to something, and this can be very small, like whatever you're passionate about. Now, not that Saturn is associated with passion, but because passion usually comes from your essence, from this core soul self, that is why it is sort of related to Saturn. Because Saturn wants you to accomplish what is in your heart as this lifetime that you agreed upon. So, for instance, there is this great example that there was this lady that wanted to write a book, and she was very old, and somehow near the end of her life, she really stuck to it and wrote the book, finished the book, and then she passed. She passed away. Normally, people do not see that as a success because, you know, she has not been applauded. She did not make a lot of money with it. Maybe nobody's even going to see that book, you know? And see, this is that nuance of Saturn that is sometimes missed. It's not about the big audience. It's not about getting your award and being very known for it. That can be a Saturn expression, but that's not the whole purpose of Saturn. The purpose of Saturn is that you complete something, that you put your heart and soul into something, that you feel like you have to, like it's so necessary, and you take it serious. That is Saturn. And what happens with what you do with the product or the project or whatever is your passion, it's not about you to know if it's successful or not in traditional terms. Saturn would applaud you because you finished it, because you did was something that was so close to your essence, because that was the true drive of your life. And do you understand that that is more true Saturn? So it's peeling off the bullshit, and it's trying to get you into your own voice. And it can smack you in the head, and it can make you fall on the ground because it wants you to wake up to that core essence within. It wants you to have the reality check of who you are as an authentic being. And the success comes from following that path. And then, as I said, the gates open and your soul can evolve into even way bigger energies. So back to the Pisces energy. Pisces is about elevation, and it's about energies. It's about feelings. Sometimes Pisces can feel so much. It's so sensitive, and it has that quality to absorb a lot, which is not practical. And by the way, Saturn is very practical. But that's when the Piscean energy can go wrong, because you can feel all the sorrow of the world, and that can be so overwhelming. And in this situation, when Saturn is in Pisces these coming 3 years, you would be required to understand the effect of the energy of others on you, and how you affect with your energy other people. And as I said, how you affect the collective consciousness as well. That one person has an amazing ability to redirect energy. And that's Pisces too. But as I said, if that becomes too overwhelming, too intense, this can go into, again, a whole spectrum of expressions. And it can go from sort of innocent outlets, such as, creativity and really wanting to be fully in the arts, dancing, poetry, photography, entertainment, but it can also go that you need to rest more, that you need to isolate yourself more because of all those overwhelming feelings that you get from other people or from other places, and you retreat, which is a very Piscean thing as well. And one might argue that that is actually very necessary, a very necessary way of dealing with the Piscean energy, because the retreat and the being alone, which I call solitude, connecting to your soul, is actually the essential goal of Pisces, because this is where you tap into your intuition, right? And that is such an important element to master. And I would say that Saturn can really help us these coming 3 years to focus and to bring us that necessary seriousness, to take it serious, and to really evolve our intuitive senses. Because I argue that the coming few years, and maybe forever from now on, we really need our intuition, because that is the ultimate filter of truth. An important Saturn in Pisces theme. But then, the overwhelm of emotions can go really wrong with Pisces. And that is when you feel the need to sedate yourself. And that can happen in many, many ways, and some can seem to be innocent. Some people think that alcohol is very innocent, but it's not. It's not. It's spirits. And it can open up your spirit to lower energies, and then you feel more overwhelmed, and then you need to drink more. See, that's the faulty cycle of addiction. You always need more and more to get the same effect. So it can go from alcoholism to drugs, all kinds of addictions, shopping, eating, sex, all kinds of addictions, right? Just to escape the situation you're in, or escape the overwhelm of feelings. And that is something to be wary of during these coming 3 years, because realistically, all of these expressions of Pisces can come to light in your life, or at least in the collective. So you could see more people getting addicted to things. And by the way, gaming is an addiction too. And you really need to be wary of screens, because that is what Pisces represents. It comes from photography, because the ruler is Neptune. And Neptune was discovered when photography was discovered. So there is a direct link to photography, cinema, and screens. So when Saturn is in Pisces, these things you need to be wary of, and have a reality check around these things. And it's funny because Pisces does not really represent reality. Pisces is about the magic of it all. And I would say, next to intuition, actually the magic of life, the magic of the universe, the magic of being you, and the magic of mastering things is a really big ultimate topic of this transit as well. The escapism that Pisces stands for can also come from needing to fantasize and just step out of this reality, by just dreaming and fantasizing and creating these illusions that feel much nicer to believe in than the maybe harsh realities that you may be confronted with. So, of course, here balance is important. And sure, you need outlets, right? Sure, you need kind of an escapism that is healthy. And what could that be? Well, as I said, Pisces is about resting. So take it slower these coming 3 years. And I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people get really restless from taking rest and from slowing down, because maybe they feel that they will miss things, and it feels maybe for them a little less exciting. But the energy here is more inward, not outward. So Pisces energy is an introverted energy, and it really needs to be alone sometimes, and it really needs the rest and the retreat to recuperate, to cleanse all the energy, your own energy field. To ground yourself is very important in the coming 3 years. And finding ways that are unique for you, for feeling more rested, for feeling more comfortable in your life, by taking great care of your body and your mind. Since this is a Saturn transit, this is about taking serious care of yourself. And this is also about emotional maturity. And that is another big theme with Saturn in Pisces, if not the biggest theme, emotional maturity. And emotional is the Piscean element, and the Saturnian element is the maturity. This is where you master your feelings. This is where you clean and cleanse your subconscious field, and, as I said, tap into your inner authority, your inner essence, and create the kind of reality you want, right? And taking responsibility for your feelings, taking responsibility somehow for your mind, and mastering the mind and mastering the subconscious mind, which is related to it. The subconscious mind that Pisces represents is, as the word says, it's sub the conscious, so it's below the consciousness. And that just means that in the subconscious, you have collected a crazy amount of information from anything you've picked up on in your youth, as an adult, and even ancestry, so DNA. So here you have programs, you have patterns of behavior, you have these ongoing repetitive cycles. And if you don't go into the subconscious mind and try to clear up, or at least see and accept whatever is going on, then this is going to continue, right? So I would say that Saturn here is also doing that work, doing that great inner work that people may not want to, but this is a really important time for that. And as I said, a healthy way of escapism is, again, tapping into the intuition, and is why you need to have solitude to be able to hear those very quiet voices that direct you and guide you in the right way. And you need to discern energies, and you need to discern feelings. What is mine? What is not? Is this imposed on me, or is this my own liberal choice? And the way you can discern is, again, by tapping into the intuition. Because the more you do that, the more you master that, you really feel what is your voice, what is truth, and what is not. And then nobody can fool you anymore. Because if you do not do that, if you do not have control over your subconscious mind, and you do not know how to tap into your intuition and to develop your intuition to make it stronger and clearer, then you can easily be lied to with Pisces energy. It's also about delusions, illusions, deceit, lies, being misled and deceived. The Pisces energy can be very gullible, and I always say that naivety is very dangerous. You do not want to be naive, certainly not in these whirlwind of changes that we're going through. You really want to keep your sense of self about you. By the way, the reason why people tend to go into the negative ways of escapism is because they feel disconnected. So when the Pisces energy does not know how to work its way through ultimate divine connection, it gets lost in that translation, and it can lose all sense of connection. And it is said that, often, especially drug addictions, but all kinds of addictions, happen because one does not feel connected to something. And here again, this is really important with especially Saturn in Pisces, to take that connection element very serious. You want to really work on connecting to divine energies. And this is not religious. This is having faith that there is a purpose and there is guidance and you're not alone in this. This is an understanding that everything is connected. And why would that be connected if there is no purpose or guidance or help or love? You want to master these higher expressions of Pisces, and that is trust, having faith, riding the waves by surrendering, because there is a bigger plan, because there is help, because you know that you're not alone in this. And you can do that through prayer. Prayer is very powerful, and it's actually a very powerful manifestation tool. Those are Saturn words, right? So you want to find ways of prayer. And as I said, that is outside religion. I mean, I'm not a religious person. You can be, of course, that's your own choice. But I'm just saying that prayer is unrelated to religion. Prayer is your link to the divine. And anyone can do that. And you can do it anywhere. It's just you connecting to the divine. And there is no wrong way of doing that. It's just finding words and conversations you find comfortable with your connection to the divine. And a wonderful way to maybe easily start this is by expressing gratitude before you go to bed for the wonderful things that are in your life, and having gratitude for it. That is a very good way of starting with prayer. Now, meditation is another Pisces word, finding the stillness. And it's a way of praying as well. Things like yin yoga, finding quiet and peace within yourself, but also in your body. It's also about taking care of your body, because it's very easy for Pisces energy to just float around and not being anchored. And that's, you can lose your grip on reality and on life if you do that too much. So you need grounding practices. Walking on earth is a very literal grounding practice. And I'm sure you can find your own unique ways of doing that. But grounding is really important. Dealing with your feelings is really important. Finding healthy outlets is really important. Connecting to your intuition is highly important. prayer, connecting to the divine, super important. Just increase your gentleness and kindness. Do it to yourself so that you can do it to others. Make sure that that cup is half full, right? At least, if not fully full. Saturn in Pisces is, of course, a wonderful time for healing, for becoming a healer in your own life. It's wonderful for imagination and inspiration to create and be creative, come up with wonderful ideas. Your dream life can be really rich. Your dreams can be prophetic, and they can speak to you more when Saturn is here. You can even work with dreams, like lucid dreaming. As you have understood, Pisces is about increasing your consciousness. It is about spirituality, right? And finding your own way of connecting to the divine. And spiritual growth and spiritual work is going to be really important with Saturn and Pisces as well. That can lead us to elevation, to transcendence, to higher awareness that we can reach oneness. And that would be a really beautiful outcome of Saturn in Pisces. But when this expression goes wrong, and then Saturn in Pisces can represent some things that will be very discomforting. And that could be confronting fears, being misled, understanding that you were lied to. This can also be about anything unseen, because that is what Pisces represents as well. So because it's about healing and health as well, Pisces, we can see consequences of unseen elements to our health. This can be bacteria, viruses, maybe health issues we've never dealt with. It can be the unseen in the sense of behind closed doors. This can be secret enemies. That's what Pisces and the 12th house can stand for too. It's, of course, a water sign, Pisces. So here we can find problems regarding water, sanitization, water shortage, water being dirty for some reason, really hard to find clean drinking water. Issues like that can truly happen with Saturn in Pisces. But remember that I said that we can redirect or direct the energy. So this is a possibility of a Saturn in Pisces outcome, but it's up to us to decide ultimately what we want to experience. So do not forget that you have great agency over what happens in your own life and in the collective. And if you're like, well, that's not going to happen, and I don't believe in that, and I do not consent to that, then, hopefully we will see some really interesting, different, higher expressions of Pisces. But the water element to Pisces also means, that there are great changes underway, and that, water dissolves and washes away. And that is why the Piscean energy is also about removal and things coming to an end and completion. So that is a very important part of this journey of Saturn in Pisces too. Pisces also represents homelessness, refugees, and prisons and hospitals. So these 4 themes can be heightened during this time, and we can find problems around these things as well. And another lower expression of Pisces can be very self-destructive, sort of a martyr, victimhood feeling, and doing too much for others, sacrificing your own life for others. And this is something we want to be wary of as well. Sort of a more innocent expression of that is procrastination, which can happen very much as well during this time. But that is not something that Saturn would not take kindly. So remember that Saturn wants you to take things serious, to commit, to devote, to mature yourself, to have discipline, to have effort. And I guess we could say that Saturn is about creation as well. So what do you want to create with Saturn in Pisces? What dreams do you have? What desires do you have that still need to be materialized, that still need to happen? And I would say the best thing you could do is just commit to that, to devote to that, to see it as an honor, as a higher expression, as an expression of the divine, to create that beautiful Piscean magic. Saturn in Pisces is also about dissolving all that is outdated, that is unnecessary, that is done with. So we can release and let go of the things that are blocking us, that are blocking our spiritual growth as well. So that is a wonderful opportunity we have here. So find a spiritual practice you're comfortable in. Believe in greater outcomes, and let's make that happen, right? And I want to leave you with a nice quote that really sums up this transit, and that is, surrender human will to spiritual will. So really mature, step into your spiritual growth and find your soul purpose. And this is an end of an era, as I call it. And we are closing a major chapter that most probably will be written into history books. So we have authority, authorship over this event. And you are in charge of so much more. Please step into your power, and please help the collective to express this transit in the most beautiful, romantic, higher expression spectrum of love. Because ultimately, Pisces is the highest expression of love. It is unconditional. And we first have to love ourselves. We have to love the divine in that way. And then we can really shift some things in this world material reality. Or is it a reality? Or are there other realities? Maybe that's also what Saturn in Pisces is about. But I would say your safest bet is to tap into your intuition, to go with the flow, and see what Saturn is going to dissolve and what it's going to bring to an end, and how you come out stronger at the other side. Now I'm going to leave you with some exact dates. So Saturn is going to move into Pisces March the 7th of 2023, and is going to stay there till February of 2026. So a good 3 years. And what is really special is that Saturn is going to meet with Neptune at the end of the 3-year cycle. And it's going to move into Aries together with Neptune. And that is a profound new cycle of reality, or a transcendent reality. And that is why we need to take these 3 years very serious and to take upon ourselves the spiritual responsibility and the emotional maturity, that commitment to our inner work, and to heal our traumas and to heal whatever is keeping us from living a better life. Let's briefly look at the birth chart of Saturn in Pisces. And this is really interesting because it occurs at a full moon, March the 7th. The full moon in Virgo happens at 12:40 GMT. And Saturn goes into Pisces only 55 minutes after the full moon, which means practically Saturn enters Pisces during a full moon. And that is so significant. As you know, a birth chart is a great indication for us for whatever is going on during that lifetime. So for whatever is going on during Saturn in Pisces. Now, full moons are about endings. Full moons are about completion. And guess what? So is Pisces. Pisces is the end of the zodiac cycle. So it also stands for completion, endings. So this means that during Saturn in Pisces, this is heightened. A lot is going to end. A lot is going to finalize. It's kind of the end of the world that we have known. Like, this is a wrapping up kind of energy. And from here on, this is the ending of an era. And we are wrapping into a new one. And things need to close. So soon we can start anew. And when we look at the chart of Saturn in Pisces, March 7th, technically in astrological terms, Saturn is out of bounds. It is not making an aspect. But I'm not that technical in those things, and I don't take it to the T. What I see here, it's relevant in the sense, okay, let me expand on that. So if a planet is not making any aspect, technically, then it is a very unpredicted kind of energy. It can really surprise us. And this is interesting for Saturn because usually Saturn is pretty clear cut. That Saturn is going to bring in some wrecking balls and is going to shatter a couple of things. And it's going to maybe scare the crap out of us. Because it's a reality check. Because it's like, hey, I'm going to make this crumble because I want you to be awake to what's real. And this is not real. Saturn only takes away the bullshit. And Saturn only makes things crumble, crushes foundations that are weak. So that you can build new, strong foundations, right? And here with Pisces, we're in a collective energy. So we are here to build new, strong foundations for everyone. Because Pisces knows we're all connected. We're all interconnected. So what's good for me is not only good for me. I need to think of you as well. Because only when you're doing well, I can do truly well. And if you're in misery, and if you have a horrible, painful, challenging life, then there is no way that I can be truly happy and truly experience love, because that's not how energy works. If someone here on earth is suffering, then that has an effect on others. See, and I think maybe we are going to wake up to that reality of how interconnected energy works and how important it is to take care of other people, the disadvantaged people. Are they disadvantaged, or are they disadvantaged because we let that happen? And it's just really profound if you understand that your wellness is linked to someone else's wellness. But what I see is Saturn that does have an aspect. Only one. And that is that Saturn entering Pisces is trining the South Node in Scorpio. South Node means endings, completions, done, finalization, release, let go, detox, remove, destroy, destruct. So does Saturn in Pisces. So this is only helping. It's during a full moon. Ending, finalization, completion. You see these three themes? It's all about endings. It's about revelations. It's about seeing the shit. It's about seeing the unseen. It's about taking accountability for it and changing it. Accepting your agency in this process. So we can expect great flow and release and surrender during this Saturn in Pisces 3 years. But what's also interesting is that Saturn is sextiling the North Node in Taurus. And currently that is where our life's purpose, our collective purpose is at. So the North Node is about learning and it's about purpose. It's about higher expression. And in the sign of Taurus, this is about the good life. It's about comfort. It's about stability. Stability is a Saturn word. Though Taurus can be more indulgent. This is also about pleasure. This is what about feels good. So you need to follow what feels good. This is about the senses. Taurus is sensual. This is about nature. Connecting to nature, agriculture, food, land. So this is how we can seriously work towards our purpose and to change the situation on Earth, to have more appreciation for Mother Earth, for nature, for the wonderful magic that it is, for food, for your heart. This is a Venus-ruled sign, about pleasure, connectedness, relationships, love, higher expression of love. That is what we're moving towards. Even though the North Node is going to change a couple of signs during the 3 years of Saturn, this is at its birth. So this is going to last with Saturn in Pisces for 3 years. Love, relate, connect, unconditional, divine, spiritual love, oneness, transcendence, elevation, higher consciousness. All these woo-woo words. But Saturn is saying, we're going to bring this into reality. And understanding these aspects, these Piscean energies, is essential, because that is the new way of doing things. And we will be tested on it the next coming 3 years by Saturn. The test is real. It's up to you how we experience it. You're a part of it. You're a very important part of it. So that sums up Saturn in Pisces from 2023 to 2026. May you have a wonderful, magical, love-filled Saturn in Pisces transit. Be sure to check out which house that occurs, or houses, for the coming 3 years, because Saturn is going to mature this area and it's going to kick you in the butt to master something, to achieve something, to dedicate yourself to this. And you can see which house it is to make sure you understand what part of the mission it requires for you. And the negative outcomes, the seemingly negative traits, are only a call for us to do things differently, to take it seriously, and to help it come to an end, to sort of clear it from the reality. This is about endings and crumblings, because some things aren't serving anybody, and whatever that is needs to go. So let's allow it to go. Let's surrender to this process. And the agency we have is here. Inner authority, inner work, intuition, because that is how we can be united in a stronger way. So I do feel optimistic about this transition, but as I said, we can come across some difficulties, some hurdles. It's up to us how it unfolds. So be sure to check out other videos, and we are going through major changes, and you can watch this video as many times as you like. And if you want, you can like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. See you in the next video.